Hello. It has been a hot minute since I have done a video. I always say I ask people, oh, do you want to see this? Do you want to see that? And everybody always says yes, and then I never end up recording a video. So I'm going to do that today. Don't mind my mess of a desk. I posted something I did on Collage a while ago, and this is not new. This is probably not something that people don't know, but it was new to me when I figured it out. And it's basically how to collage onto your canvas, your artboards, whatever, without your paper buckling. I love collage as a background on my substrates, but I don't do it a lot because it buckles. Every time you go to put it down, you think you've got it flat, and then it dries with little bubbles in it. So, somewhere along the way, I learned how to avoid this. So we're just going to make some random backgrounds with the amount of scrap papers that I have and bits and pieces. And I'm going to show you how to do it. It's super quick. It's not going to be a long video. I'm using a MDF panel, a 5x7. It is by Art Alternatives. I'm sure I got this on an art store on clearance because I don't pay full price for art supplies, or I try not to. So we're going to use that because I do find it works better on something solid, a good quality canvas, MDF board, or pieces of wood or whatever. So you need a little tub of water, depending on how big your pieces are, Mod Podge or gel medium, paintbrush, water, and then I just have like a little paper towel to blot off excess moisture if I need to. And then scraps of paper. I was messing around with some book pages and some other things that I did. This design is made with the art by Marlene. What is it? Floral style or something? Wait, what's it called? I know it. Oh, it's hidden. Okay. And I'll show you how I did this too, but this I didn't actually. Oh no, I think this one I just made a stencil with the image, and then this I actually made my own stamps with the thin die cut. This is called Floral Style. Yep. Picked this up. I swore I wasn't going to buy any more craft supplies this year and use what I have, but I couldn't resist this when I went to go pick up some adhesive that I bought from my local paper crafting store. Anyways, so if you are using old book pages, you have to be careful because they're pretty, fragile. But it works with anything. So let's not worry about making it the colors and all that match because it doesn't matter. It's going to get covered up eventually anyway. So I'll just pull out some scrap papers that I have just sitting on my desk. I need to clean my art room so bad, but who's got time for that? All right. So you don't have to prep it. You don't have to do anything unless you want to. And you just literally, we're going to start collaging. But the trick is to get your paper wet first. You don't need to leave it in for long. I don't suggest putting your paper in the water, like a bunch of it, and then letting it sit because it might disintegrate the paper. Might even in frame here. Here we go. And then we're going to use this brush that I already used. And we have our wet paper. It does take a little bit longer to dry. Oops. But that's okay. I can be patient. And then this way you don't actually have to put it on the back of your paper to make sure that your glue is completely coated on the back. Just put it right on your substrate. And you're just going to set it down and then immediately go over it with a little bit more of your Mod Podge or gel medium or whatever you're using. And you can see there's absolutely no bubbling. It softens the fibers in the paper when you get it wet. So that's kind of nice. This is paper that I printed on my laser printer. This will not work with anything you print on your inkjet printer because that ink is not permanent, so just keep that in mind. I think you can spray it with a sealer after you print it and then use it, but this is just from Oops. From my laser printer. And the nice thing is because it's wet, you have time to work with it. You can move it around. It does slide, so be careful. And then let's see, let's try an old book page because we can. So this is, you can tell it's super fragile. So you're just gonna dip it real quick to get it wet. Don't leave it in too long. It will disintegrate in the water. I think the nice thing about this method is you actually use less adhesive because it goes further when it's watered down. That's a little too wet. I think my brush is too wet. All right. So you're just going to keep layering and layering until you get it to look the way you want it to look. This is coffee dyed paper, so let's see what happens when I dip it in the water, if it runs at all. No, it seems to be okay. Like I said, it doesn't really matter if your papers match. I mean, if you want them to, because you're going for a specific color theme or something, by all means, but this is all going to get covered up with gesso and paint anyway. You can even vary, this is actual cardstock, so you can vary the thickness of your papers. And old dictionary pages. Oops, forgot to wet it. And I do blot it off if I feel like it's too wet. Like I said before, you just want your fibers soft so that they don't buckle when the first contact of moisture is made with your Mod Podge. What else? What else? Let's do, this is kind of a cool jelly print that I made a while ago and then I stamped over it. It just gives a cool texture and a cool, you know, mixed media type background look to it. Let's go this way. Okay, what else? I haven't seen that before where the glue's actually beating up on my paper. Huh, it's weird. Let's see. It works with deli paper too. So a little piece of deli paper that I jelly printed. It does get really wet, so definitely dab off the excess moisture on that. And this is cool because whatever's underneath will show through, so you can layer up several layers. Oops. I wouldn't try this with tissue paper just because tissue paper does tend to fall apart as soon as it gets wet. That's why it's so easy to rip with moisture. But you know what? It's your art. Do whatever you want. What else? What else? What else? Let's see. So much pressure when you're recording. I think this is another laser printed piece. We'll see when I put it in the water if it runs. I can't tell. It might actually be not laser printed. Whatever. Let's see what happens. It's kind of cool. This year I decided to stop buying things and use what I have because I can't remember, I was watching a video and somebody was talking about how they remember when they first started crafting and they had very limited supplies, and it may have been the Frugal Crafter. And you just got so much more done. And I've been doing this for so long, I've actually developed quite the collection of art supplies. And while I'm grateful that I have it, I literally only use a fraction of it. So I thought, I should honestly just start using what I have and stop buying things for the sake of buying them. Because to be honest with you, everything that's new is old. And I probably have it in some form or another. And I don't need to repurchase it. It just might be packaged different or released by a different company. But everything out there, I mean, not everything, but pretty much most things, they've been done over and over again. So it's not new. It might be new if you're new to crafting or art, but it's usually not super new. Anyways, I'm almost done with this. Just gonna throw that down there. This is definitely something fun that you could do outside if your weather permits. I live in Arizona, so it's always nice pretty much here. I just don't feel like taking my supplies outside. So, and then I just go, when I'm done, when I feel like, okay, it's done, I just go over a little bit more with a little bit more Mod Podge or gel medium, just to kind of seal it all in and set it aside to dry. I'll show you too. So this is, I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's like no buckling. Everything is pushed down smooth. Have to sand that off once it dries. But I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's absolutely no buckling. And this will dry completely smooth. Aside from obviously the texture of the edges that you tore or whatnot. But I don't know, in my 20 plus years of doing this, why it took me so long to learn that, but it did. And then let's do real quick, we'll do a actual canvas. Let me find a canvas real quick. We'll do an actual, I think I already gessoed this. So this is just one of the cheapy canvases from Michael's, and clearly something was pressed under it because it's a little wonky here, but that's okay. And we'll do some bigger pages. Let's do some book pages, but let me rip off, hold on, this edge. This paper I made with Rit dye. I was tie-dyeing something last year when we first went into lockdown and I had extra dye, so it's like, ooh, let me just dye some pages. That'll be fun. And it was from a book that I got at the dollar store. Don't like white edges. It doesn't really matter, but I like that little, yeah, let's do that. All right. And we will just do the exact same thing, but you can see how well it works. I haven't done it on a gessoed surface, so let's see. I know these canvases supposedly are pre-gessoed, but I don't know that I believe that. I'm going to use a bigger brush. I always gesso them even more once I get them because the canvas is super porous. All right, let's get some paper in here. There we go. Look, can you tell? No bubbles, no lifting, completely flat. Do some cardstock. Obviously, if you're using bigger papers, you want to use a bigger water holder. I've done big pages on big canvases where I use one of those paint, I don't know, liner trays. I have a bunch in my garage from painting my house inside last year. So where are we at time-wise here? 15 minutes. That seems good. Yeah, it works out nicely on canvas as well. So I'm just going to keep adding paper till I am done. Oh, I didn't get my adhesive all the way. And that's it. Fun. Nice way to use up your bins of scraps, which I know you all have. Because are you really a crafter or artist if you don't have scraps? And if you find any areas that maybe didn't get wet enough, just take your finger, dip it in some water, and dab where the paper's still dry. Seriously, easiest technique ever. And I know it's not new, and I know that, you know, most of you probably already know about it, but for those that don't, you're welcome. Kidding. So easy it just slides when you need to position it. Where is... It can be messy. I would not, so I have tried to speed up the drying with my heat gun. I don't suggest it. I really don't. Because if you don't move your heat around, it will cause your paper to bubble because it's basically burning the Mod Podge or whatever you're using to glue it down. I would bet you could even use watered down Elmer's glue because let's be honest, that's all Mod Podge really is. Don't come for me if I'm completely wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's basically what it is. Let's see. Oh, let's put a tag on there just because I have it laying there. I'm sure that was from some junk journal I was working on once upon a time. Oh, it's not wet all the way. Look at that. And that was printed on pretty thick cardstock. And it still goes down nice and smooth. What else we got here? Just play, like, I don't know. Grab your stash and who cares if the paper's coordinated or not? Just start laying it down. And if you get to this point and you're like, oh, I'm done, I don't want to do anymore, you can come back to it later. It does not matter. So we are almost at 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop before this is done, just so it doesn't take forever to upload, because if it takes too long to upload, I definitely won't. Anyway, so that's basically it. I'm going to kind of tilt this so you can see where we're at. gloss where it's not dry, but literally nothing is bubbled. Just so nice. It totally, I don't know, for me it's like, I don't know, just improving my art that much more and making it much more enjoyable for me. Because I don't know about you, but it's frustrating when things don't dry the way you want them to, or you're doing collage and you're trying to draw something over it and your pencil moves because there's a bump or something. So, I mean, obviously it's not going to be super smooth because of the layers of paper on here, but that's it. So easy. So hopefully you learned something. Thanks for watching, guys.